I am so grateful for God meeting us where we are and saying things that we are sometimes afraid to say, and sometimes we literally just do not have the words for. Some of you, like me, have been grieving since the election, grieving the faith that you had, grieving the expectation, grieving the hope that you had, in that the world that we live in would finally see us as Black women as valuable, as equal, as worthy. When the disappointment of that hope and that faith came to fruition, you were left in a place of grief that almost seemed like was acknowledged for a very, very short time period. And then people expected you, as they often expect Black women to do, to get up, keep moving, keep the smile on your face, and just act and pretend like everything is okay. And that included church. And if I'm honest, I haven't been to church in a few weeks because I knew before I stepped in the door that there wouldn't be space for my grief. I knew before I stepped in the door that when I walked in, what would be expected of me was to say, God is good, which He is, so all things are good. So I'm going to pretend like I don't feel how I feel, and I'm just going to exuberate a certain level of praise that makes me forget about how I actually feel deep in my heart, how I actually feel deep in my spirit, how I actually feel in my soul. What this episode did for me was give me freedom away from the wrestling that I had in my spirit, trying to coexist God goodness with things that happen in life that I just don't understand, that I just don't deem good. Like a lot of you, there was a level of sadness that I just could not quickly shake off no matter how hard I tried. I didn't understand why it was feeling like it was following me, like the cloud on Charlie Brown, that character who had that cloud following him. I could not understand why it felt like this cloud was following me and wouldn't just let go. And I knew when I stepped in church that it would not be about that. It would be about, you have no reason not to praise. You have no reason not to thank God. And I knew that's not where I was. Just like some of you, I knew that where I really was saying, I worship God. But there is a level of worship right now that is different from my actual praise. I am worshiping Him beyond what I understand and acknowledging that He is God above all and He knows beyond what I could ever think. But there is this level of sadness that I am bringing to Him in authenticity because it is where I really am. But I did not feel permission to do that. I did not feel permission to be where I was. And as I watched the services online, it was what I thought it would be. I love the church I go to, but I think that we have gotten into a system of what we know makes people feel better versus meeting people where they are, even if it's not within the norm of how we usually do things. We have gotten into a system of not maybe changing the program to fit the reality of where people are in a moment, to allow us to not feel like we are not good enough Christians because there is a sense of deep sadness or a sense of grief that we don't feel like we can express and still have true worship at the same time. God knows where you are, and so allow Him to meet you there, because that is where the actual healing, that is where the actual comfort, that is where the actual peace, that is where the actual intimacy that He seeks from you is at. Not where you want to be, not where you think you should be, but where you actually are. If where you actually are is different from the people around you, which I don't think it is, I just think that a lot of times a lot of us have gotten used to masking where we really are. But if it's different than where other people are, do not feel a way about taking the time to yourself to sit with where you are and to ask God the questions about where you are before you reintegrate yourself into a space that may end up making you feel away, that may end up making you feel a little resentful, that may end up making you feel like you're dismissed and how you feel does not matter. We have to do a better job of creating space so people can have an authentic encounter in worship by acknowledging where they are in reality before they get to the space where they can actually reach the faith level.